welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys are enjoying your week so far. I know we've got a lot of stuff kind of going on out in the cosmos with all this planetary action, so hang in there. It's going to calm down a little bit soon. I wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk to you guys about this up and coming new moon in the sign of Virgo. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below and subscribe to the channel. This will alert you to when I have new videos on my YouTube or on my X account. Make sure you're following me at X at BTV Astro, and drop me a comment. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this video. It would be nice to hear from you guys and how you are going to be celebrating this new moon in the sign of Virgo. All right, so we're a little early, I know, but this is the time now that we're actually getting ready to start feeling, now that we're in mid-August, the eclipse energy of September and October. So we've got one more lunation before we have that mid-September eclipse in Pisces. So things are changing, right? That's what everybody needs to know. Things are changing, things are shifting. But I kind of feel like this new moon in Virgo can be incredibly helpful for getting our act together, for making change, for new habits, shifts with our routine as well as our health, and making a little bit more time for the things that we love. So we're going to have this new moon taking place on September 2nd, 2024. Depending on what time zone you're in, I'm central, so it's going to be happening in the PM hours for me. But Pacific time is going to be 6:55 p.m. Central is going to be 8:55 p.m. and Eastern time zone is going to be 9:55 p.m. Now we've got people all over the world watching these videos, so adjust your time zones accordingly. But just know that this is incredibly helpful for setting intentions, okay? Every month we have a new moon. Every 28 days, the lunar cycle resets. We're able to kind of gather all of our thoughts and our energies and our wishes, and we're able to start new. So in the sign of Virgo, we're going to be really focusing on Mercury and Virgo topics today. If you guys hang tight to the end of the video, I'll be talking about how this is going to be impacting the 12 rising signs, so you can kind of get some insight from me on how to work with this energy. But the reason why I think it's so impactful is because 6 months from now, this will become a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So we'll take a look at that at some point, but just know that there's a lot of ripe energy with this new moon for major breakthroughs in about 6 months' time, and also shifts revolving around our health and our habits, our jobs, right? All of that fun stuff. All right, so we're going to be seeing this new moon, like I said, happen on the 2nd of September, 2024, and it will be at 11 degrees of Virgo. So if you have any personal planets, sun, moon, rising, maybe an angle or another planet, anywhere between 10 and 12 degrees of Virgo, this is going to be the most impactful for you. And you're going to want to look at what planet is conjunct the new moon, because it's almost kind of like hitting the reset button. So it can be very fortuitous, especially down the road as we see more activations of this particular new moon. As well as the mutable signs. So if you have anything from 10 to 12 degrees, Gemini as well as Sagittarius or Pisces, this will be impacting you as well, because you'll be experiencing a new moon that's going to square some of the energies in your chart. Now Virgo is the 6th sign of the zodiac. It's mutable earth, ruled by Mercury, all about kind of focus and attention to details, cleaning up, reorganizing, and kind of getting our shift together before we go into Libra season, and then we start focusing on our relationships. So when I think about Virgo in the 6th house, I always remind my clients and my students, this is kind of like the energy of right before you go on a job interview or maybe a first date. You're kind of, looking at yourself in the mirror, fixing your collar, combing your hair, fixing your makeup, getting your kind of space in order before you meet somebody new and you make a brand new impression. So we want to make a good impression when it comes to our relationships with other people. So this is very personal, right? So it's going to depend on where it is in your chart, but it's very personal because not only does Virgo represent our own habits, but it also represents what we can kind of do to better ourselves so that way we can better serve others. Virgo rules things like our coworkers, gym, health, wellness, diet, anything revolving around organization of communications, fixing things, taking them apart, putting them back together, editing stuff. So I really like this new moon for doing any of those things. Now we'll be working with this energy in the immediate next month until we get to what will eventually be the next new moon, which we will have in Libra. That will be at the beginning of October. That will be a solar eclipse. And, we'll see some changes happening in the immediate next 2 weeks as we get closer and closer to the Pisces lunar eclipse. But specifically, when we look at this moon, Mercury is the ruler. Okay, so by the time we get to this new moon in just a couple weeks, Mercury is direct. Mercury retrograde's over. Now, there's still going to be some bumps because it's going to be in the post shadow. So we're still awaiting one more Mercury Uranus square. We've seen several of those. It has made communication, travel, and timing very hectic. I know there has been a lot of things that have been up in the air, but this does help that Mercury is direct. And Mercury is going to be in the sign of Leo. Bold, courageous, creative, romantic, youthful, fun. So we're trying to make more time for these types of things, whether that's how we communicate and connect with others or just in our everyday routine. Now, if we look at this from the degree theory perspective, this is going to be happening at 11 degrees. And 11 degrees in degree theory has connections and correlations with Aquarius. So it is unconventional new shifts in our health and our habits, unexpected changes when it comes to our relationship with our coworkers, our pets, getting out of the box, right? That's really what all these Uranus squares have been about, getting out of the box. Yes, sometimes, doing that can be a little stressful, changing our habits and our routine, not knowing if we can stick to it. But likely most of you guys have been working with kind of rethinking and reworking, because the Mercury retrograde started in Virgo, that area of your life. So now that Mercury is direct, I feel like we can kind of get creative with maybe, having fun while we're cleaning or organizing, getting in better shape a challenge, or instead of just feeling like we have to, go to the gym and go to the grind. It could be dancing, it could be other creative forms of being able to be more productive and getting our work done. Now, down the road, we're going to see Mercury come into conjunction with this degree. So we're going to see this kind of unfold a little bit further. And I feel like the intentions that are set with this new moon, you may see more things unfold right around that particular time. Just know that 11 is when things speed up. It's about where we want to be in the future. It is about working with groups of people. It can be that there is some sudden shift, epiphany, awakening, right? That is what Aquarius is all about. 11 degrees, the correlation to Aquarius. I think about Uranus over the last couple of weeks and how it's been, it's been a little turbulent. And I think maybe we're resistant to making change with this Mercury in the fixed sign of Leo, in a fire sign. So it's about what I think and what I want, and it's very bold. And lots of hard angles with Uranus and this recent full moon in Aquarius, which means we are having to get out of our own way. I was posting on X this week and I was talking about the full moon in Aquarius, and I said, I kind of liken that full moon to the Tower card. Because the Tower card represents completely leveling something and, something toppling and, the crisis that can come from this sudden, kind of breakdown of some kind of structure in our life. But in a reading, oftentimes when we pull the Tower card, it can represent the need to do this before we are able to bring in what we've been manifesting, what we've been wishing for. If you're somebody who's been sitting around the last couple of weeks being like, I need to change, I need to break out of this, thing, I need to stop doing this, or I need to stop eating that, or I need to find a new job, or finally commit to making some kind of shift in my relationship, this is the new moon where you're going to have the opportunity to do that, because now Mercury is direct. So it's not that internal dialogue that we've been having, it's more external. So we're going to be a little bit more vocal about, hey, this is what I'm doing, or this is what I'm committed to, or, I'm job hunting. And we're going to be kind of telling people the changes that we're willing to make. So interested to see how that kind of manifests for sure. Also, the Sabian symbol. So let's talk a little bit about the Sabian symbol. If you guys are new to my channel, I like to incorporate, kind of different layers to better assess and kind of analyze what's going on with the particular lunations. When I work with the Sabian symbols, I always round up. So unless it's exactly, 11 degrees, we will round up in this case to 12 degrees because the new moon is going to be at 11 and 4 minutes. So let me read to you guys the Sabian symbol for 12 degrees of Virgo. This is going to give us a little bit more intuitive, psychic, kind of clairvoyant perspective on this particular degree. So Virgo 12, a bride with her veil snatched away. The keyword is invitation. The theme is a moment of truth. This symbol speaks to the discovery and accountability, or to the moment of truth and a demand that some prior claim or assertion now be proved. The image of a bride with her veil snatched away may be better understood in countries where the groom is not permitted to see his bride's face until after the wedding ceremony. The reference here is that the degree reflects the time of reckoning and for bringing things out in the open for all to see and judge. This symbol also suggests that once a conscious choice or commitment is made, the individual should allow that experience to run its course and refrain from prematurely opting out before he has given himself the opportunity to profit from it. At its highest, the symbol represents integrity, total giving of self, faithfulness to commitments, but watch for moral weakness, misguided sense of honor, and self-respect. The accent is on discovery. Something that was hidden may come to light today. The truth will be revealed. Your greatest advantage lies in verifying things for yourself. Check out all claims being made before making a purchase or relying on representations. Guard against impatience or ripping the butterfly from the cocoon too soon. You try not to invade someone's privacy or unmask them in public. Respect the dignity, even if it's the least of your fellows. So stepping stones is revelation, moment of truth, proof, unveiling, exposure, uncovering, disclosure, divulgence, publishing, discovery, and accountability. Well, hasn't that been what the Mercury retrograde's been all about? Hasn't Mercury in Virgo, kind of given, passed the torch to Leo to let some people state their case or their claims, or, make a fool of themselves, or put their foot in their mouth, or speak too soon? I mean, I've seen both things kind of happening. I've dealt with both things for sure, but I definitely feel like, is this the turning point? And be that, when Mercury conjuncts 11 degrees down the road, when we have the full moon in Pisces, that rather illuminating eclipse in September that is about, I think, unveiling certain truths. I think so much about the Jupiter-Saturn square that's been taking place this week, and I have summed it up by saying it's basically inconvenient truths that are now coming up. Things that we don't want to talk about, we don't want to acknowledge, the elephant in the room, people being told, don't say anything, just keep quiet, don't rock the boat. Or things that are coming up that are being swept underneath the rug, right? So I kind of look at, the Mercury retrograde as people making a big deal as they're going and doing their research and getting information and sitting on things. And then as it comes back into Virgo, there could be some grand unveiling of something. Now, Mercury right now is in Leo, so it can be about celebrities, it can be about stars, it can be about younger people, romantic partners, children, our own kind of inner voice that we're kind of getting in touch with. And when Mercury is in Leo, it roars. It is not a shy placement, let me tell you, and it does not really mind or care about kind of upsetting people with that square to Uranus. I've seen a lot of people talk about, I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter how many followers it costs me, or who I'm affiliated with, or what my boss thinks, or people have been extremely proud, I think, throughout this particular transit. But when we kind of look a little bit deeper at the Sabian symbol, I think about just the revelation of truth. The act of snatching the veil essentially is unveiling the truth of reality. I love that, obviously, given my business name, Beyond the Veil. I think that in a broader context, it could represent moments in life where illusions are being stripped away, and things that we have believed for so long, that we've bought into, that we have maybe even had at the core of, this is why I eat the way that I do, I work the way that I do, this is why I follow this certain regimen, or this is why I listen to this certain kind of person, is because we believe in it, right? We think it's good for us, or we think it's for the best of everybody involved. But I think in this sense, it's going to be about revealing some kind of raw, unadulterated truth. And it can happen in personal relationships, career paths, your spiritual journey. And it's really about one's true nature or essence of a situation becoming suddenly clear, okay? And it may have a little bit of a delay. Some of you guys will see it in this month. Some of you guys, it'll take a little bit longer. But I also think about the idea and the concept of two people getting married and the veil being over the bride, her face before it's lifted. And so that's about a transition from innocence to experience. And so if we think about, the wedding, it's that making it real, right? Now you really see, okay, this is real. This is really happening. The groom's action could be seen as a rite of passage where the bride moves from a state of protected innocence, right? Purity, purification, white veil, the whole 9 yards, to kind of a shift into, the complexities of married life, and more broadly into the complexities of adult life. So this is where we're taking the veil off and we're going to see clearly. And veils have connections and correlations, obviously, with Neptune. It's about illusions and screens and things that can kind of protect or shield something, but in a more kind of translucent way. So it's about opening our eyes and really being adults and being grown up, and being grown up enough to ask questions or talk about things or see things for what they are in a very practical way. Even if it's scary, even if it's disruptive, it's about acknowledging those certain truths. Now, obviously, there's themes of power dynamics here, or control and power dynamics, because when you think of the act of snatching it, it may also reflect the themes of power and control within relationships or societal structures. So it could signify moments where a party exerts control, or there's a power play going on in a relationship, or in social contacts, and somebody being like, okay, I want you to see this, I don't want you to see this, or I'm gonna make you look at this thing, or I'm gonna kind of take control of the situation. Certainly with an 11 degree, there is this sense of maybe something happening abruptly, or somebody saying, look at it, look at the facts, and maybe you don't want to see that. And then finally, I think about personal growth, because, well, obviously, Virgo is an earth sign. All of the earth signs know that in order for something to grow, it needs solid ground, it needs a little bit of sunlight, it needs water, it needs all the other elements that kind of make up the zodiacal wheel. But nurturing is definitely something that is connected to Virgo moon, and learning how to have the patience and the capability and the skills necessary to be able to kind of let something grow, which is eventually what this will do into a full moon. So on an individual level, I think that this is really related to personal growth, where we have to confront and really accept the realities of life. And in order to do that, we have to strip away the veils of self-deception or societal expectations to see oneself or one situation more clearly. So removing the veil, it's no different than, I can't see through the windshield. I gotta, use my wipers, or I gotta defog it. In order to, see yourself in the mirror after taking a shower, what are most people going to do? They're going to put the vent on, they're going to wipe, the mirror down so they can see more clearly. Very similar to this particular Sabian symbol, but it takes that conscious switch. I want to see it. I want to see more clearly. Okay, I'm going to go through the motion of being able to do that. So in order to do that, we have to be willing to kind of face the things that we don't necessarily want to face, right? Now, examples of how this can play out in real life. Okay, because the Sabian symbol sometimes can be literal. Are we going to see somebody's veil get snatched? Maybe, I don't know. But in this sense, when we look at it in real life, like with a relationship, it could be like a couple where one partner has always been seen in a certain light or idealized in some capacity. And there could be a conversation or an event that happens between the two that could lead to a deeper, more realistic understanding of each other, which might be shocking, right? It can be like, oh my God, who is this person that I'm in a relationship with, or who I'm working for, or what have you. But it could also lead to a significant shift in how they approach the relationship, and it can actually bring a lot more grounding to the relationship. It's like getting real, you know, and having an experience that really brings the two parties together. So there is something positive that can come of that. For work, and obviously Virgo has this association with, you know, hard work, dedication, rolling up your sleeves, you know, kind of getting down there and scrubbing the floors and making sure everything is perfect. It can be about a person who's been pursuing a career path, and they have had this idealized kind of view of success and what it means to be successful, or when they get the certain job, that's when they will have made it. And it can represent a moment where they realize the harsh realities of the industry or their role is kind of becoming very clear. And it leads to a significant shift in how they approach their work, or perhaps even a career change. Now, to take it a step further, this could be, especially for people in the service industry. Virgo is going to represent people who service other people. So it could be people who cut hair, people who work at bars or hospitality spaces, people who are doing accounting, taxes, HR, you know, anything like that. And realize like, wow, now that I'm in this, like, do I really like this, right? That's the thing. Do I really like this? I think there's been a lot of that going on because Mercury started its retrograde in Virgo and it's gone back to Leo, and people have been saying, well, does it make sense to try my hand at, you know, running my own business? Like, do I want to try a creative venture? You know, am I willing to take a risk and put myself out there, or choose a job or a career path that's going to genuinely make me feel happy, right? But I think just also, you know, the specific Sabian symbol does talk about a spiritual awakening, right? Lifting the veil or going beyond the veil, which is how I use it in my business, symbolizes a moment of enlightenment when, you know, you see through the illusions of the material world. You're able to look beyond that, or any kind of like religious dogma, maybe, leading to a much more authentic spiritual path or belief system or kind of vision for what it is that you believe in or practice. So what might you expect during this particular new moon? That is the question. Obviously, organization and health, right? So if you have been like, I need to get in and get a checkup, or I need to see my dentist, or, you know, I got to take the cat to the vet, or anything like that, it can be really positive for that because new moons are setting new intentions. Virgo is going to be about kind of checking things off of your to-do list. This new moon encourages us, I think, to set up or refine routines. And these routines should be things that promote our health, both mental and physical. Remember, Mercury rules Virgo, so it can be mental health. It's not limited to just kind of going through the motions, especially with some of the oppositions that we are going to see to Saturn. We're going to have to look at both sides of this. It's almost kind of like if this were to be a full moon, and like full disclosure, this is preparing you for some of the aspects we're going to see with the full moon. What I love about seeing planets in both of these kind of polar opposite signs is that it's saying you can't have one without the other. And so, and I'm totally have done this. I've seen, you know, people who have done this, but when I look at Virgo and Pisces, it can be like the person who goes, yeah, like, you know, I show up on time, I eat really well, I work out, I go to the gym, and they can be so rigid with their routine, but they're not paying attention to the Pisces side. They're not maybe sleeping well, or maybe they're not dealing with things emotionally very well, or they're not processing things emotionally very well, right? Or on the other end of the spectrum, we could see all like the Pisces stuff and with Saturn and Neptune, which could be, I don't want to deal with it, I can't look at it, I'm afraid to, you know, go and get my blood work done, or, you know, I can't seem to get out of bed and go look for a job, or, you know, I'm just dealing with this like crippling anxiety or emotional issues or addiction issues. And in the lack of looking at the kind of emotional, spiritual, behind the scenes issues, there is going to be effects, health effects, right? We'll see health problems that will kind of come from that, or we'll start to see things that aren't functioning very well, especially during this Mercury retrograde. You know, I've heard so many clients over the last several weeks that have been like, you know, I finally got to a point where like enough was enough. And I finally made myself get out of bed and stick to a routine. And like, I've seen actually this Mercury retrograde manifest pretty positively for a lot of people. I don't know, you guys let me know. So that's kind of like the intricate balance between the two signs. So I really like this for new health routines. And regardless of where it is in your chart, it's gonna be about getting something in order and making sure that it's more efficient. Now, new moons in Virgo can also be about service and improvement. So this energy is about service, improvement. You know, Virgos are known for having the most amazing attention to detail, very meticulous when it comes to that, and they will tell you how to fix something or kind of make something better. They are always looking for ways to better other people. That's why they are so incredibly critical. That's why they are here. They're here to kind of help us get it in order. So it's possible that this new moon might inspire you to improve your skills in some capacity. And maybe this is refining your work processes or engaging in new activities to serve you, your family, your friends, or even your community. After all, Virgo is about servitude. It's here to help other people. So it's also about kind of saying, okay, in order to better help other people, Virgo, or help those in need, I have to be 100%, right? I have to be filling my own cup. I can't just endlessly be giving. So that's also kind of touching on the balance that you see between the planets in Virgo and the planets in Pisces. I like new moons for self-reflection. I feel like it's really good to get grounded and really think about, okay, what are the aspects being made? Where is it in my chart? What can I do with this energy? Is it working for me or is it working against me? And I know some of you guys, especially the mutable signs, are going to be like, this is working against me. You're feeling the pressure of the squares. Remember, we've still got some placements that are kind of going on in Gemini, so you're still seeing some of the effects of some of that energy where mentally we feel a little overstimulated. We might be feeling like we have to hurry up and do something, and we might be, juggling too many things at one time. Slow down, right? We want to pay attention to detail. And if we're able to really, use this time for self-reflection, aiming to purify our intentions and also nurture our authentic self, we're going to get better results, 100%. So I think this could mean examining, your life patterns and discerning, what truly is going to serve your growth. And I'm going to tell you guys point blank, it's going to be things that we are going to have to acknowledge and admit to ourselves and be willing to say, in order to have better health or organization or productivity, I got to stop doing this. And I have to acknowledge that this is happening. And that's because of the opposition to Saturn, basically. There is opportunity, because it's an earth sign, for manifestation and abundance. Okay, this new moon squares Jupiter. So given, some of these aspects, it could be particularly potent for manifesting material abundance or enhancing your comfort of your daily life. So I feel like this is about also, looking at that square to Jupiter, being like, okay, well, I have a lot that I can gain from my intentions, right? If I am, learning or taking conscious actions or being more optimistic about the fact that this is a good change. We've all been there. We've all been like, oh, I get up and I just don't want to go to work, but there's somebody out there that would kill to have your job. We've all gotten up in the morning and been like, I don't want to go to the gym, right? I just can't. But there's somebody who is just getting started on their fitness journey. And so I think a lot of this is about having appreciation for what we do have and being like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to I'm not going to take things that I have for granted, and I'm going to do something with this life that I have. It's about kind of looking at it in that perspective, because you never know who you may inspire with some of these squares to Jupiter, with just the fact that you're going, you're dedicated, you're committed to seeing something all the way through, and the people who you tell about your journey as well. So earth signs can be great for growing wealth and abundance, and I like the Jupiter square. For career and relationships, obviously this depends on your zodiac sign. For some of the earth signs, it can be a little bit more beneficial for you. So obviously, I think about Capricorns and Tauruses. You're going to have some trines, especially if you have anything between 10 and 12 degrees. And also, if you happen to have this falling in your 5th or your 7th house, it could definitely manifest as more kind of relationship-oriented things for you. This is also about having a realistic approach, or taking a realistic approach when it comes to relationships and new beginnings and opportunities for fresh starts, and being able to kind of better support and serve one another. Personally, with some of the aspects to Saturn, with the South Node Venus conjunction, and also with the ruler Mercury trine Chiron, one other note that I put here for myself is that this is a really good time to be creating a natural kind of medicine kit, okay? Virgos, they are, I would consider them the herbalists, it could be the alchemists, the healers of the entire zodiac. And I really feel like if you're somebody who's like, I, want to go and see a new specialist, or maybe I want to try a new healing modality, maybe you want to start learning about herbalism or crystal healing or essential oils, Bach essences, plant stuff, all of those things are wonderful. If you're into homeopathic, awesome, good job. Great time to be getting books on healing as well. I'm going to add a couple new books that I actually just got to my reading list. So if you guys haven't seen my reading list, check it out. You can click the links in the description below. It says book list. It'll take you to my Amazon, where I have all the books that I use on the channel and the decks as well, but I've got a bunch of really great resources for natural medicine. So if that's something you're into, if you want to learn about gathering herbs, or if you want to learn about treatments, teas, balms, or if you're just wanting to make sure that you're updating your family's, like emergency medical kit, or, do we have enough Band-Aids? Do we have hydrogen peroxide? Do we have, this or that? Good time to have it, because I do foresee that there is going to most likely be some issues with medical shortages, and whether that's supplies, medications, whatever. I don't say this to scare you guys. I'm just telling you, with the eclipses and the way that some of this stuff is going to turn out, I think that this will happen. So it does pay to be prepared if that's something that you like to do. Make it fun. Go and make a list of what you do have and what you feel like you would need to have in the home. Equally, it's a great time to learn how to self-heal, right? And that can be emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. Self-help books, wonderful at this time. And also being able to kind of get back into the habit of being like, what's going to make me happy? And what do I need to change in order to kind of do that? So this could also be good for like making time for hobbies and those kinds of things as well. Anyway, check out those books. I'll put them in my list. But just know that the themes overall are going to be about starting new detail-oriented projects. So if you're like, man, I got to start kind of planning the end of my year for my business, or I got to start, planning travel, or I got to be, do some lesson planning, or, anything like that. Good time to start, because, starting a project under a new moon in Virgo is really about precision, and it's about improving things and also service to other people. So you're going to have some extra help in regards to that. Self-improvement, self-development, focusing on habits that lead to better health or efficiency. You guys know I've been talking about that the whole last 2 weeks as I've been reading Atomic Habits. And obviously, Virgo is mercurial. So Mercury is about divination. It is about changing things, and it is about being able to relay messages. And I really feel like this has been such a powerful Mercury retrograde. In many ways, I think it's also had a little bit of magic because of some of the sextiles that we've seen to Jupiter. So, we have learned that the things we say, the things we think, they can manifest. There is power in words. Things that are written, can be spells in themselves. So be very mindful of that. And I think Virgo is a sign that's really great for practical magic. It's not like, okay, I got to set up, the crystal grid, and I got to do this and I got to do that. Some of my favorite Virgo moon people that I've known, they have this practical magic that they do in their everyday life, whether it's when they're cooking or, when they're cleaning their house or anything like that. Little wives' tales and things that they kind of do that may be superstitious, but have a great deal of power to them is what I think about. So using practical everyday actions as a form of manifestation of personal ritual, right? This is a new moon that's going to correlate with right around the first of the month. So if you're one of those people who's like, first of the month, you're blowing your cinnamon out your front door because you're wanting to call in abundance into your house. Awesome. That's literally the epitome of the kind of stuff that I see with Virgo moons. If you're deciding you want to add a little bit of lemon and some Four Thieves vinegar or some Florida water or some salt to your floor wash and you want to clean your house, right? Really practical, simple things that you can do to really shift the energy and the vibes within your space in your day-to-day routine. Smudge your office space, right? Get those vibes out of Barbara from accounting or HR, whatever's going on. Clean up the space and do it in a way that's going to be helping you when it comes to productivity and kind of clearing your mind. Now, the best way to work with this moon, in my mind, is just set clear intentions. Look at where you've been frustrated over this last few weeks. There's been some tension between Leo and obviously Taurus because there's been squares that have been going on. So something has been having to go back into Leo with this Mercury retrograde before it goes back into Virgo and it reactivates this new moon. So get clear, right? I feel like Virgo is so good at getting down to details. Like I said, they're very clever. They are also very clear when it comes to defining what it is they want to improve in their life. So that's what you want to be doing with this new moon. You want to channel that energy, especially if it's related to health, work, or service. I also like Virgo new moons for like rituals revolving around purification or cleansing, okay? Because I feel like that's really what this is going to be about. So if you want to engage in activities like cleaning your space, decluttering your space, fasting, or symbolic acts of purification, you want to soak and do a bath, right? You could do that. You want to decide that you're going to do a detox. If you decide that you're going to be cutting something out of your system, or maybe you're giving something up for like, 28 days, that would be a wonderful thing to do with this new moon. Focus on your health and wellness goals if that's something that you're trying to do. Begin a new exercise routine or a diet plan, a wellness practice. It could be something as simple as just committing to being like, I'm going to do some journaling, or I'm going to, make sure that I do X amount of push-ups or squats a day, or I'm going to be meditating for 15 minutes when I wake up in the morning. Very simple things, and you will see really significant results if you stay with it. If you have the opportunity, the time, and the capability, service is a wonderful thing to do during a new moon in Virgo. It's about initiating or deepening your involvement to your community or people or things that you take care of. So you could volunteer, you could donate time, money, services, anything like that to people who are in need. This is also a wonderful time to be going and tending to all of your house plants or your gardens or anything that you're feeling like you need to kind of clean up and kind of zhuzh up a little bit. And obviously we need to reflect because we've got Saturn in Pisces, and then we need to plan. Okay, so this is going to be about introspection and then planning for the next steps that we're going to be taking and focusing on practical steps that we take forward for long-term benefits. Truth be told, I have no Virgo in my chart. It's my 12th house. I don't have any mutables in my chart either. So I find that these particular transits are challenging because I'm dealing with stuff that I don't have natally. But one thing I've learned after several Mercury retrogrades now in my 12th house the last couple of years is that Virgo teaches me that I'm not going to get anything done unless I have a plan. If I'm just like, yeah, I'll do it, and I don't allot time, and if I don't come up with an end goal and then figure out the check-in points to see it through, or if I'm not going through and kind of weeding stuff out or correcting things, like it ends up just being this hot-ass mess. So I'm really excited for this new moon because I feel like it's going to really illuminate for a lot of people whether or not we're doing our Saturn work. The opposition to Saturn is within about 5 degrees, and that it does require sacrifice. It does require honesty with ourselves and the willingness to say, you know what, I haven't been giving it my all here, which is okay. Saturn is retrograde, but this is going to be kind of highlighting this, I think, for the better part of the next month, really, until we get to the eclipse. If you like working with like herbs, crystals, all that stuff, something I really love doing for new moons is I like working with essential oils, right? That's just me. So you may have some at home, or maybe there's a diffuser you want to put on, or maybe even a candle or something. I love lavender because of its connection to Mercury, and it's really great for mental clarity and calming us down. I like peppermint for this new moon because it's wonderful for enhancing focus and energy and mental alertness, especially if you're like studying or if you got a long drive, you're trying to focus at work. Peppermint's great for that. I like rosemary because it's going to be really great for energy and also anything revolving around memory enhancing. So if you're really trying to stay focused and you're really trying to like remember certain things and kind of stay on task, I like it for that. Eucalyptus is really great as well for kind of clearing the mind, and it also promotes a sense of cleanness and order, right? At least for me, that's how I see it. And basil is good too for mental stimulation. It is not necessarily associated with Virgo, but I like it for this particular new moon. Now, if you're a kitchen witch and you like to do that stuff and you like to work with herbs, I like chamomile, okay? So this is really wonderful for calming and healing. I like mint, again, whether you want to put it in your tea or if you want to kind of put it in the salads and stuff, because it aids digestion, and that aligns with Virgo's kind of health focus when it comes to digestion. Dandelion is good for detoxing, okay? We've got oppositions to Saturn, guys. So many people, I think, are going to be like, I am not drinking anymore, or I am cooling it on that, or I need to be sleeping better. So it depends on your own kind of situation, but certainly Saturn is sobriety. So I do think that if you're somebody who's like, I'm trying to give my liver a break, or, I'm trying to kind of go without it, dandelion can be really wonderful. It's great for purification and detoxification. So is lemon balm. That's also good for stress and mental clarity. And obviously sage, because, sage is great for kind of clearing everything out and purifying a space and kind of getting the vibes in check. Now for crystals, if you've got crystals that you like to work with, obviously, peridot is great because of its associations and connection to Mercury, but it's also great for the digestive system, and it's great for, aligning kind of with the heart space. And it's also great for its healing properties, which Virgo wants to do. I like carnelian, believe it or not, for this new moon, because it's going to give us motivation. It's going to help us feel a little bit more service oriented. I chose this specifically because Mercury is in Leo, so I feel like it's going to give us a little bit more of like a kick, a little bit more pizzazz when it comes to getting things done. Blue apatite, which is good for aiding in communication and intellect. Good if we've got a lot on our mind and being able to kind of communicate more clearly. Obviously, I got to throw some smoky quartz in there for grounding and helping us kind of stay centered if we feel like we kind of have a little bit of a hectic or a busy schedule. And I also really like green aventurine for prosperity and growth. And this is also good for health. It's also great for personal development. So if you guys are rock hounds, you can pull some of those out. But in general, ritualizing this new moon, I recommend just having a morning routine or ritual. Starting your day with something like meditation, or if you're deciding that, you want to take certain herbal supplements, or you want to sit and do some intentions for the day. That's it. That's all you got to do. It doesn't take much to make magic happen doing that. Now, if you want to get a little bit more into the health and the wellness rituals, I think of like yoga, because Virgo can really talk about the body connection, and Pisces can talk about the spirit connection. And so if we're kind of building more of like a routine revolving around moving our body, connecting with our higher self, yoga or Tai Chi practices can be really good for this next month, right? Because they're going to promote health, flexibility, which is what we really need with these mutable squares. And also, I think, mental clarity. Also, clean eating. Virgo is about making sure something is clean and that it is pure. Some of you guys may benefit from adopting more like of a whole food diet, and kind of seeing, especially if you're dealing with digestional issues or allergies or health problems, really taking care of the gut and making sure you're supporting the gut. Those of you guys who are on like the not drinking train, okay, to each their own. Everybody, whatever you want to do you. But I would say, the opposition to Saturn does speak to sobriety, and that could be, I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking pot, I'm not oversleeping, so it can be great to develop new skills with this new moon to be able to better support that, right? And to have something else you can do. Something I got back into in the last month, I haven't been drinking, is I make kombucha. I've been making kombucha like crazy. I've got like a big jar with like a SCOBY in it, and I'll sit there and like watch it and check on it and go and check the pH on it. And I do my little Virgo thing, make sure it's ready, and then I transfer it to glass bottles, and then I'm infusing it with like a bunch of like fresh fruit and stuff. So yeah, I got my husband kind of hooked on it. So now we've got tons of kombucha in the house. So if you need any, let me know. But that's, I think, a great way of being like, I'm going to develop this routine and this skill, so that way it, kind of replaces this thing that I'm trying to kind of kick out of it. And I know some of you guys are like, well, it's not booze, but no, but it can kind of give, I think, added benefits without some of the negative stuff that you get from drinking. Anyway, organizational rituals do not have to be chanting, burning candles, setting intentions, having an altar space. Like for me, decluttering is a ritual, right? Like you put on your music, get in the zone, drink an energy drink, and you knock out your closet, right? Or folding your clothes, or, cleaning out your car, or decluttering the garage. Like that is a ritual. Any Virgo will tell you that. So you might spend a little bit of time kind of cleaning and organizing your space, or rearranging your space and shifting kind of the energy in your home or your workspace. creating more order, better flow, and more cleanliness. And then also, I think planning sessions are really good for this new moon as well. I think if you're taking time for planning, whether it's your week, month, or your long-term goals, use tools like planners, digital apps, digital calendars, time blocking techniques, so you're making sure that you're staying on task and you're getting your stuff done. Please consider volunteering, whenever you can, acts of kindness for other people. Perform a small act of kindness for other people, pay it forward. It can be as simple as helping someone, kind of cleaning up a public space or carrying something to their car, opening a door, things that we should do anyway, things that we should want to do anyway. But these simple acts of helping others in need is so much, I think, the opposition to Saturn, because you never know who would really truly benefit from that and the kind of ripple effect that would have for other people. And reading and learning, so intellectual pursuits under this new moon is also great, because you could be like dedicating time to read or learn something new, especially subjects that require detail, precision, like science, health, or organizational psychology. I think these are the big ones kind of connected to this new moon. Now, like I said, this will become a lunar eclipse. So let me show you what this is going to become. So the new moon is at 11 degrees. And then the lunar eclipse, which we will have here on March 14th, 2025. Okay, so if you're one of my astro girlies that will look at a new moon and then you look at the full moon 6 months later and you're like, oh, I know how that's going to manifest, right? This is for you. So this will become a full moon because it's 6 months after the new moon. So it has evolved. We're going to start to see the fruit of the intentions that we're kind of putting together now, which is habits, changes, health. This will become a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, the very first one. So this is going to be the first lunar eclipse in Virgo in like 8 or 9 years. We only see the South Node Virgo eclipses every 18 to 19 years. And this one is going to be at 23 degrees. So what do you know? Another Uranian degree, okay, where things are like suddenly, speeding up. But this is conjunct the South Node, right? And so we all know Virgo, health, habits, routine, but it's also healthcare workers, it's veterinarians, it's services, it's the ability to help and heal, right? And then Pisces, which is mental health. It can be about addiction issues. It could be about hospitals. It could be about global situations. It could be about pharmaceutical stuff, all that kind of, Neptune stuff. So we're going to see a polarity between the moon, which is conjunct the South Node. So everybody's going to be going through an emotional kind of tailspin. Usually we see moods happen with the South Node moon, and people are going, oh my God, this thing is gone. Or we can't have this, or now this is really kind of broken down. And the South Node is connected to the past, so it can be past actions, past things that we've done, whatever. So 23, and it's going to oppose Saturn, which is what you see on this new moon. And Saturn in Pisces can be about isolation, separation, it can be about emotions and feelings and boundaries revolving around that. Certainly there's a lot of other global things, but just in terms of the video, I want to make it be about you guys. And emotionally, when we have a full moon or a lunar eclipse, this represents a collective where we're going through health challenges. We're going through issues with services or the service industry. Why? Because something is being limited. It opposes Saturn at 22, which does deal with top-down structures like government and, leaders or anything revolving around, could be government shutdowns, maybe, we'll see. And then the full moon is the opposition to the sun. So it is making the moon become illuminated from the sun. And then it's an opposition to Neptune, where we feel very emotionally like, what can we trust? Is this real? What's happening? Why is this falling apart? I know some stuff that can sound kind of heavy. Now this will be also ruled by Mercury, right? And so what you guys don't quite see, but you'll see this the next day, is look at how Mercury is in conjunction to Venus. Venus will be retrograde in Aries, which quite literally means there is something that is being reworked revolving around all of our individual bodies, our health, our relationships to self, right? And Venus will actually retrograde in conjunction with Mercury. So Mercury is actually stationing, which is very powerful because it's getting ready to retrograde. And it's going to turn retrograde, I think, later that day or the next day. And then it will come into conjunction with Venus. Actually, I think it does before it goes retrograde, right here. So here's the 12th. Then we have the eclipse on the 14th. So, you know, Mercury retrograde coming into conjunction with Venus. We just had this, guys. We just had this in Virgo. Okay, that's why there's been all this like freak out over all the pox and everything, is because there was a Mercury retrograde, news coming back revolving around issues pertaining to health, and Venus was in her detriment. So now we're going to see Venus turn retrograde in her fall in Aries. She's going through a Mars sign in conjunction to Mercury. Weird synchronicities, huh? So we're going to see some similar stuff. So right now, I kind of feel inclined to tell you guys that when this happens, if we look at the South Node conjunction, which is feeding off of Mercury getting ready to retrograde with Venus, which is like, oh my God, you know, we're seeing other health things coming back that's impacting individuals. It could be changes with people's jobs. It could be also changes with, you know, people's relationships. Yes, all of those things. I don't think it's going to be as gnarly because the South Node will no longer be in Libra, where we're breaking away from relationships. Now the South Node's at Virgo. So now we're super focused on Mercury. We will also see this eclipse square Jupiter. It's a 10 degree orb, but it's there, okay? Which you also see with this new moon. So when we think about this new moon, setting new intentions revolving around health, habits, what I have on hand, how to learn how to self-heal, how to take better care of myself, how to educate myself, how to do that, it's being magnified with a square to Jupiter that's saying, yes, buy the books, learn the things, learn the skills. Yeah, research it, watch the videos. Because why? You never know. Opposition to Saturn is like, well, what if something happens and I don't have those things? I don't think a lot of people think about those situations. Like if we didn't have the internet, you know, would we really, like, we can't just Google something. I personally wouldn't Google anything now. Anyway, that's just me, but that's more a search engine preference joke. But we wouldn't have those resources. And this is why I've been telling people for the last 2 years on my channel, buy books, physical books, hard copy books, right? Jupiter and Gemini, people going to bookstores, they're going to libraries, you know, that's great. It's great that we can look up anything with our phone. But if we didn't have these things, how would we know, right? See, we don't want to be in a situation where we may not have resources, which I know you are probably going to think sounds crazy. And I also don't want to be in a situation personally looking at this eclipse where suddenly it's like, okay, well, now it is hard to get certain herbs and, you know, we can't wait for something to be shipped, or now we, you know, need a certain medication or, you know, some kind of balm or treatment, or maybe, you know, we are out of Benadryl. Oh, what are we going to do? That kind of stuff around this time. So it pays to learn this stuff, have a plan, make sure that you have what you need in your home for yourself, for your family, for your pets. Virgo is pets too, by the way. And making sure that you're taking better care of these things so that way you're prepared. But yeah, Mercury stationing, oof, the retrograde conjunct Venus, that's going to be a little gnarly because they will both be retrograde. And when they're both retrograde, they're going to be playing off of Mars, right? Which is debilitated in Cancer, squaring Chiron. And it will now be coming out of the it will be coming out of the Mars retrograde. So we'll see Mars go retrograde in Leo. It's going to go back to Cancer. It's going to go direct. So this is still in the shadow. In the background, you know, the moon is also the dispositor of Mars. And Mars is square Chiron. So there could be some health issues pertaining to home, family stuff. Mars is also in a trine to Saturn and the Sun. So that does mean that if we're taking, you know, the necessary precautions and we're doing what we need and we're, you know, self-sufficient and capable at home and we're providing for families, you know, certain select people who can see the writing on the wall are going to be fine. You're going to be fine. It won't be an issue. I think the biggest issue with the North Node going into Pisces and the retrogrades next spring and, you know, Saturn and Neptune there for another year, quite honestly, I think it's going to be about water health. And I keep telling everybody that. And you guys are going to see what I'm talking about pretty soon. Also barriers, boundaries for homes and properties, you know, if you're in areas where there's flooding. But I think it's going to be about, do you have a decent water system? Do you have a good filtration system? Do you have something that's reliant on electric? If so, do you have something that's not reliant on electric? That kind of stuff. And so I think people are going to start thinking more proactively throughout the Mars retrograde period about, what do I need in my home, and how can I have what I need to feel safe and secure? And that's going to differ from person to person. So not too crazy about some of the aspects in about 6 months, because it's very much associated with the breakdown of whatever is going on with bodies, or with individual rights, or things revolving around our own independence or our own physical capabilities. And it's connected to health, habits, strength, and personal goals and issues being there. Now, what's even crazier is, okay, so this is ruled by Mercury, right? And Mercury's at a 9. Watch this. 2 weeks later, then we have the solar eclipse. If you're new to astrology, eclipses happen every 6 months. They come in pairs. We have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. This is when either the lunar eclipse, the sun and the moon oppose, which is what we just looked at. The solar eclipse is when the sun and the moon come into conjunction. And this is a new moon on steroids. New moons are about new opportunities. So solar eclipses are about action. And we've got an exalted sun in Aries. So we've had several of these solar eclipses in Aries. I'm over them. I don't know about you guys. I've had enough. My moon is like, please no more. But this eclipse, what degree is it at, guys? 9 degrees. That's exactly where the ruler is in the previous eclipse. 9 degrees of Aries. And it's exactly 9, by the way. Well, Mercury isn't, but the solar eclipse is there, but Mercury is still there. So it's going to be an eclipse that's going to involve Mercury, at Mercury conjunction. So fascinating, because this one's ruled by Mars, and we've got Mars now square Chiron. And look at Venus is retrograde, conjunct Saturn, and also the North Node, ruled by Jupiter, which is squaring. That's going to be about health revolving around water, issues and maybe breakdown or dissolve, or problems with hospitals, issues with pharmaceutical companies. I know I sound crazy, but like, this is the kind of thing where I look at this and I'm like, yeah, it was enough for me to be like, in this last year, like, I'm going to build my own kind of kit out and make sure I have all of the things that are homeopathic that I use, all the things I need for my dog, all the things that could be, antibiotics, antivirals, all that stuff, in the off chance that it was necessary. And I feel pretty good about that now, the more that I look at this. This being ruled by Mars square Chiron is pretty gnarly, but we'll take a look at this down the road. I don't want to get too much into this. I am curious though, because that 9 has come up so many times. So 9 degrees, and it's exactly 9 degrees of Aries. So what is the Sabian symbol for 9 of Aries? Because that seems to be connected to the events that come from the full moon that we're manifesting for. Oh, how funny. Aries 9, a crystal gazer. The keyword is acuteness. The theme is divination. The symbol speaks to global perspective and the capacity to quickly grasp the significance of all facets of a situation at once and understand the meaning in coincidental events. The image of a crystal gazer emphasizes the world of potential intuited or perceived through clairvoyance and vision. Implicit in this symbol is the concept of dual imagery or mirroring effect, wherein man and the universe reflect each other and thereby create the means for predicting the future. On a practical level, it can symbolize a situation where all ordinary means for solving problems have been exhausted and divination techniques are turned to. At its highest, the symbol represents psychic sensitivity, prophetic insight, and the ability to organize and plan in such a manner that facilitation and convenience precede actual need. Watch for snooping and prying, foolish impracticality. The accent is on sensitivity and the need to find information or immediate answers to problems. Logic and reason may not work well at this time. Solutions are discovered intuitively through psychic means. You are especially alert today and may surprise yourself and someone else by turning to something that was being kept a secret. Your greatest advantage lies in looking ahead to what is going to be needed in the not too distant future. Guard against being intrusive or violating others' rights to privacy. Mind your own business unless you're specifically asked to get involved. Stepping stones are intuition, clairvoyance, vision, reflection, sensitivity, global perspective, and potential. I rest my case. So we'll talk about that as we get closer. Wow. Sometimes this stuff is just, it still surprises me. So that's probably why I'm still doing what I'm doing. All right, so let's go look at the aspects of this, and then I'll talk to you guys a little bit about how this is going to impact the 12 signs. So let's get, okay, so a little bit about the aspects. So the new moon is when the sun and the moon come together, right? So like I said, anything 10, 11, 12 degrees of Virgo, sun, moon, or rising, it's going to be impacting you pretty personally. One of the strongest aspects that we're going to see is both going to be the opposition to Saturn and the quincunx to the North Node. All right, so let's tackle the sun in opposition to Saturn. Needing to take the necessary steps forward and coming up with a system, a plan, or a routine, or getting organized to become able to see more clearly, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, to say, you know what, this has had power over me for so long, or this has limited me for so long, or I've been having trouble quitting this thing or breaking through this wall. You know, how am I avoiding it's not working anymore, right? Avoiding responsibility and being like, no, I want to master this. And that's really what I think the Sun-Saturn opposition. It's not really all that different than the recent energies that we've seen. Jupiter square Saturn, we have felt like our momentum is kind of squashed and we're not entirely too optimistic, even though we're still going. There is a sense of dulling a little bit of that Jupiter optimism and growth. Rightfully so, it needs to be sustainable. And then Mars, which has also been in a square to Saturn, where we've been getting frustrated because we haven't been able to kind of make our way. And with Saturn and Pisces, we're like, what is holding us back? We can't see what is actually really going on. So now we've got some energy that's more grounded, a little bit better organized, and it's like, okay, you know, I'm gonna find a way to be able to kind of overcome this or tackle this challenge. With the moon in opposition to Saturn, you know, Saturn in Pisces is sensitive, psychic, emotional. It is receptive. It's compassionate when it needs to be. And when the moon opposes Saturn, we're kind of like, it's tough love. You know, we're like, yeah, I know it's easier to sleep in, but we're gonna get up early. Or it is easier to eat the junk food, but we're gonna actually consciously make decisions to eat something that's better for ourselves. And what is physically nourishing, right, Virgo, is emotionally nourishing. What can be helpful is having a routine. What can be helpful, even though it's not comfortable if you're getting into this new job, right, this new habit, this new schedule. It may not feel comfortable, you may resist change, but it could actually be really good for you in the long run if that's something that you're really prioritizing and focusing on, right? Emotional connection, you know, emotional vulnerability, changes with our home, our habits. Yeah, these things can be hard. You know, connecting with family members, moon opposed Saturn is like, you know, there are some people I would just rather not. So yes, we will kind of feel that during the time of the new moon, but the key here is to not, I think, evade any sense of responsibility. And sometimes, you know, a little bit of routine can actually be really good for us and make us feel better. The new moon does square Jupiter by about 8 degrees, okay? And notice that Jupiter and the new moon is ruled by Mercury, which is in Leo. So even though, you know, Virgo says, you know, get in line, be on time, get it done, be efficient, fix it, go edit this, bring it back to me. And Jupiter doesn't want to do those things. It's just, nope, I'm going to send the text. I'm not going to edit it, you know. I'm going to rush there. Anything's possible. It'll be fine. I'll figure it out. Even though they're in conflict with each other, which actually makes the new moon feel bigger. Okay, Jupiter magnifies things. Mercury is ruling both of them. And Mercury is in a square with Uranus, which means it's not that there's conflict between necessarily doing too much and not getting everything done. You know, if we're spreading ourselves too thin, we're not really able to dedicate our total focus to any given project, and it may not be as productive. There's no doubt with that square. But I'm really looking at Mercury square Uranus, where, you know, people are so startled by the changes that are going on right now with the earth, with food prices, with inflation, with radical swings in the market and anything revolving around that. that this is creating some sense of mental stress. And maybe we're watching too much news or television. Maybe we're spending too much time, talking to people about problems and not being about solutions and actually doing something. I really feel like, and I've said this before, I think I said this in my address for 2024, Saturn and Neptune are going into Aries. The deception will not be hidden anymore. We will have nobody to blame but ourselves for not taking some kind of action in our own lives. So this is the opportunity now with this new moon to say, okay, you know what? I'm sick of my own shit. I'm ready to make a change. I got to come up with a solution. It is difficult. I have to be not so rigid when it comes to the way that I look at money or resources or time. And you might be kind of going, this isn't, I don't want to waste my life away in this job anymore. Or, I'm wasting my time in this situation or in this relationship. And like, I need to make a change. And yes, it's going to feel bigger, but I feel like the willingness to step away from something and the willingness to let go of the fear can actually bring something that's so much more solid. And if you guys saw that eclipse that I showed you in 6 months, where we have the South Node eclipse in opposition to Saturn, there will be a separation. There will be a sense of being like, okay, nope, now you're on your own. Now you can't have it. So it's kind of like, do you want to do it now or do you want to do it later? Right? That's really the question. Do you want to do it now or do you want to do it later? The good news is that we've had a Mercury retrograde in Virgo prior to this new moon. So it's been helping us kind of get everything in order already. We've also had Saturn in Pisces for like the last year plus. So when we have this Pisces eclipse come in, like we're gonna do okay. There might be some curveballs, but it's already preparing us basically for the eclipses that are coming in. We've already kind of gotten prepped. I hate to say this, but Mercury's kind of like, he's on his own here. All right, he's not making any really amazing aspects. I'm not seeing the sextiles and the this and the that to other planets that support him really. Mercury sextiles Jupiter. Okay, so we still have all these ideas and things we want to talk about, and we're telling people about it, but we're not quite putting it into action yet. Mercury also sextiles Mars, so it does mean that there is some motivation, and we're kind of talking about what we want to create. But I think once we get Mercury into Virgo, we're going to start seeing some real stuff getting built. But besides that, the strongest positive aspect we have is a trine to Chiron. And I feel like the Mercury square Uranus trine Chiron is saying like, this hurts, or I got my feelings hurt, or I don't want to feel heartbroken anymore, or, I have finally gotten to the point, because Chiron is retrograde, where this has become such an issue or a problem for me, or I'm taking it so personally, or it's wounded me so badly that like now my inner child is like throwing a tantrum, especially with Mercury square Uranus. So that's the strongest aspect it makes, and trines are harmonious, they're positive, they're free-flowing, so we can finally kind of get to the heart of the matter and go like, yeah, this has been a problem for some time, and like now I want to fix it. And fixing it, is going to cost me time, energy, money, something. I read this quote the other day on Twitter. It was like a proverb where somebody was saying, if you get on a bus and you're going somewhere and you realize that, you're on the wrong bus, it makes sense to get off sooner rather than stay on the bus, because the further you go, the more it's going to cost you to come back. And I was like, yep. And I think about some people right now, they're looking at certain situations in their life and they're just like, I can't get out of this. I might as well just resolve myself to the fact that this is just the way that it is, and I'm just going to figure it out, and I'm just stuck here. And I don't really think that that's a positive way of looking at things. I think that for me resonated, because I was like, man, some people right now, they can save themselves a whole lot of time and a whole lot of trouble if they look at some of the stress and the tension going on in their life with Mercury square Uranus and go like, yeah, this is not cutting it for me anymore. And so when you get to the new moon in Virgo, it's going to be like, okay, so what am I going to do about it? Right? What am I going to do about it? Venus is conjunct the South Node. Now, she has nothing to do with the Virgo new moon, but she's conjunct the South Node. So on one hand, you're going to see lots of changes in relationships, okay, especially because Venus is at a 5. So it can be about romantic partners and things revolving around relationships and kind of lovers and kind of situationships. And South Node Venus means that we're not necessarily feeling totally fulfilled any longer with some of the things or the people or the collaborations that we have had. We're ready to break away now. Remember, Venus is the South Node ruler, right? So that conjunction means that, yeah, we're going to see changes in relationship. We're going to see a lot of that. Wait till you guys get to October and you see the solar eclipse in Libra with Venus in Scorpio. Right when cuffing season is beginning, or I guess technically is that tryouts? I don't know. I'm married. I don't know. But right when cuffing season is starting to begin, you know, September, October, we're going to see this gnarly solar eclipse in Libra. I think also around 11 degrees. So, you know, relationships are changing. And I really feel like the other end of the spectrum could be that we are reflecting on some of the past patterns in relationships. You know, South Node Libra can be too indecisive, too attached to certain people, you know, afraid to be alone. There can be a sense of being in relationships for superficial reasons. And maybe we're just more aware of like, yeah, this isn't working. So when we think of like Virgo being that space where we get our own act together, we can be seeing some kind of breaking down or dissolving of certain relationships or partnerships or, you know, teams of sorts, you know, duos. Because other people are like, no, I'm on my path. And, you know, everybody's had that relationship, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, whatever, where as soon as you start bettering yourself, you start kind of noticing like, whoa, I'm like drifting from this person, you know, because you're consciously making changes going, I'm just doing what's best for me. And then you start to see the divide. And it's like, you're going to see whether certain relationships are either going to grow with you or you're going to grow apart. It's going to be one of those two things that's going to kind of manifest from this. And I don't think it's necessarily immediately, but you may see it more in October. You may also see it more right around the time of the eclipses next year. The other thing that we've got here too is we've got Mars, which is the ruler of the North Node, still in Gemini. It's almost in Cancer. It's the last moments of Gemini, so it is still very communicative and it's multitasking and it's bouncing all over the place. And this is about words and action and, you know, communicating and sharing with other people. Mars is coming into a square with Neptune. So when you think about Mars being about your direction, right, your drive and your motivation, when Mars starts to come into a square with Neptune, and it's already been checked, by the way, by Saturn. So we already saw something rev up when it conjunct Jupiter this last month and squared Saturn, pulled back, and now it's going to square Neptune. It means that then there is this softening or this sense of, why am I doing this? Whose fight is this? You know, or what direction am I going in? So it gets kind of confusing, to be honest with you. It gets kind of confusing. And I think that Mercury connection to Mars and the square to Uranus is like people are starting to ask themselves like, you know, what's really going on with the financial system? How much, you know, how much money is actually really valuable anymore? There's been a lot of questions about, you know, what's going on with economics and, you know, values of resources and where, you know, inflation, you know, Uranus and Taurus has been really rocking the markets, and it's got people talking and learning a lot about this and the history of how we got here, right? Squares to Saturn is history. Anyway, so Mars square Neptune is a very confusing, what direction am I going in energy, and it kind of starts to lose its momentum when it comes into that square. And there can be issues with deception. There can also be issues because Mars and Gemini can be talking about bronchial issues, breathing issues, inflammation of the lungs, issues with coughing, stuff like that. And that there can be some health stuff coming up from that as well. All right, and then we have got Mars quincunx Pluto, oh boy, which by the way, in September, it's back in Capricorn. So get ready, folks, because this is the last moments of you know, Pluto in Capricorn. We're only going to see this until the fall of this year. It will stay at 29 degrees for a while. And so this represents that final moment. We're finally going to see the total, this is like the finale of since 2008 when we've had Pluto in Capricorn. So when you think about when Pluto in Capricorn happened, we saw the 2008 kind of collapse. Now Pluto's going to be leaving and going into Aquarius at the end of the year, which it will stay in. And this is about total transformation and breakdown of top-down structures or control. Same place when we saw some of the conjunctions in Capricorn that were going on, you know, in 2020. And it was my experience personally when I saw planets at 29 degrees is when there was, you know, government shutdowns, the most limitations, the strictest kind of laws and this is sextile Neptune, ruled by ruled by Saturn. So, you know, Pluto going back into Capricorn is we're going to start to see more of the effects on, you know, leaders and governments and big business, and like where things are becoming exposed and things are being revealed. And it sextiles Neptune, which means it may not be as clear as we think, maybe until it goes direct. Neptune can be a little bit more insidious, and kind of hidden behind the scenes. And so these two are saying there are things that are kind of in motion behind the scenes that we don't quite see yet, just to put it simply. So when we have this there, that in itself is big. But when we see Mars, the ruler of the North Node, Aries, which is about our drive and our direction, quincunx that. This is war on communication, media, issues revolving around travel, trains, buses, could be Ubers, sharing of information, that kind of stuff, which we are seeing in some parts of the world. It's happening. You know, because we see also Jupiter square Saturn and square the new moon. Jupiter is the focal point here in Gemini. Not the strongest in this sign because it's in its fall. It's magnifying communications and conversations with communities and neighborhoods, and we're talking about laws, and we're learning new things, and there can be more global conversations happening, but it definitely seems like with this new moon squaring it, it's going to make the effects of this feel bigger. And remember, like I said, we see the same damn aspects a year from now when this becomes an eclipse. Oppositions to Saturn, and also squares to Jupiter. So you're going to want to pay attention to what happens during this new moon. Watch the next lunar eclipse in Pisces as well, because Jupiter keeps becoming like evident. And right now Jupiter's direct. Later this year, when we have the other Saturn-Jupiter square, Saturn's going to be direct, Jupiter's going to be retrograde, which tells me it's going to be harder to speak out, harder to share information, harder to travel, harder to fly. These things are going to become more and more rampant as we kind of get from, you know, I would say the end of the year until spring of next year. And that's pretty much everything. I feel like I've gave you guys way more than you probably wanted to hear today. So that's the new moon. Get organized, come up with a plan, you know, start focusing on health and habits, productivity, and anything that is going to help you become more efficient as a person, right? So I want to talk to you guys really quickly about where this new moon is going to be happening for each and every one of the 12 rising signs. As always, I'm a Western astrologer. That is what I practice. I like to practice Western astrology, and I'm going to be showing this to you guys from the perspective of whole sign charts. So to make the most of my predictions, you're going to want to listen to your rising sign first. That's going to tell you exactly which house this new moon in Virgo is going to be. You can listen to your sun sign as well. Your sun sign is going to tell you what you need to know about your joy, your creativity, maybe even your job. And your moon sign, after all, it is a lunation. So listen to your moon sign because it can be helpful also. And you got to put them all together to kind of see how it manifests for you. Special attention for 10 to 12 degrees of Virgo or mutable placements. Also, you know, Taurus and Capricorn, you have anything around those degrees as well. It's going to be trining you, so it's going to be helpful. Earth plays well with water, so, you know, we're going to see that Pisces, you know, you're having oppositions, but it's relating to your relationships. And Cancer and Scorpio, you guys are going to receive some sextiles, so it can be kind of friendly for you, okay? So let's start first with my Aries and Aries risings. What's up, guys? All right, so we're going to have a new moon taking place in Virgo in your natal 6th house, all right? So for you, a lot of what I've been saying, you probably resonate with. It's a perfect time for starting a new health routine. If you want to focus on dietary changes, workout plans, maybe you reorganize your workspace or take on a project that requires a lot of analytical skills, you can do that. This is also a time to be thinking about creating more time for playtime because Mercury's in your 5th house right now. Or creating more time for dating, or creating more time for hobbies, or, you know, for your kids. It can be that, you know, you're getting your kids back on a schedule, or that you're needing to hire somebody to watch your kids or to walk the dog, right? Anything like that because of the service aspect in this regard. And it looks like with Mercury square Uranus, you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm trying to figure out financially, how do I do that? You know, what is worth paying for and what is not? Or what changes can I make myself, or what things can I do myself, and get creative with it rather than feeling like I need to give up resources to handle some of these habits. Looking for a job, great. Wanting to get organized, great. And I really feel like can be a little challenging because this quincunx is the north node in your sign. So it definitely does correlate with health, body, and habits. That's what you want to pay attention for, okay? Card that I get for you is the Ace of Coins, which is a good card, okay? This is about money, resources, stability, health, abundance, and new beginnings and new manifestations, especially for stability and resources of any kind, all right? Great card for a new moon in Virgo. Let me know, Aries, how it goes. All right, we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? You're going to have a new moon in Virgo, a fellow sister earth sign. And this will be in your 5th house, Taurus. So your 5th house is about creativity, children, romance, creative projects, self-employment, having fun, hobbies. So you might start a new creative project that requires meticulous detail, all right? And it is possible that it could be, you know, creating, involving writing. It could be anything revolving around media or self-expression. And it could also be that this is a time that's good for romance. So if you're single, it might be a time where you're setting clear intentions about what you want in a relationship, who you want to meet, what kind of a partnership you want. And it may also mean that there's new interests that are coming up for you that involve self-improvement. Now, recently, the retrograde has gone from your 5th house to your 4th house. So you can be reevaluating, well, what needs to change in my home, you know, to have more creative space or creative time? What's changing with my children? What needs to change in my home to better support my kids? Or reflecting on your childhood, your inner child, reconnecting with family. Mercury's been in a square to Uranus in your sign, so you might feel like some of these things are driving you crazy, or that you've got a lot going on in your home, or you've been moving, or changes with the family that's been impacting you or your creative process in some way, right? Venus with the South Node at the time of this new moon is saying that you really are probably going to be making some changes, maybe to like your routine. Maybe you are saying, you know what, I'm letting go of this old habit or this old project. I'm making time for something new. I'm changing my office. I'm rearranging or redecorating something. Or maybe deciding that you're like leaving one job behind for something new that's kind of coming in, okay? The card that I get for you is, wow, Ace of Wands. So far, we're off to a good start. So this is about passion, creativity, new opportunities. This is about, you know, feeling like you're igniting something. This is also about new initiations, creative spark, and enthusiasm. Great, great card for the 5th house new moon. Let me know what happens. My Tauruses. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You guys will be experiencing a new moon in Virgo in your natal 4th house. All right, so obviously squaring you guys a little bit, right? Opposing Saturn a little bit. So even though the new moon is in your 4th house, boy, oh boy, there is a lot that's kind of pressing down on you when it comes to some of these changes. So when you have a new moon in your 4th house, this is about setting intentions revolving around your home, your family, and your roots. Whether this is the apartment you live in, your childhood home, your family, the past, property, real estate matters, things involving parents. So it's a good time for like home improvement projects. You might be kind of planning that, or maybe planning a move or like a renovation or a reorganization of your space. You're probably thinking about creating a much more health conscious environment. Family dynamics can change and they can shift towards like a much more structured kind of like routine, right? So it can mean that you're setting up a home gym or maybe a home garden or a home office of sorts. That can be something else that you're considering doing. Now, Mercury is your chart ruler. It's been in the 4th, so there's already been this kind of reorganization going on. And it went from your 4th to your 3rd, so there could have been reconnecting with siblings, thinking about moving, you know, changes when it comes to homes or vehicles. And it's been in opposition to Saturn. So that tells me that you're like, okay, you know, I got to get my home in order because I've got a lot going on at work. And, you know, maybe you're just trying to kind of streamline things when it comes to home or family improvements. All squaring you does kind of make you the focal point here. So it does seem to indicate that it's all about your optimism and your actions that you're taking to be able to kind of better move through some of these changes. All right. So the card that I get for you is the Four of Pentacles, which is kind of like LOL because this new moon's in your 4th house. For me, this is like, what do I hold on to and what do I let go of? And this could be literally or like emotionally. So this is about possessiveness sometimes insecurity. You can be more frugal with things, focusing on saving money, security, being guarded, an investment or long-term plan. All right, so you see a guy holding all these coins. So it may mean that you're like, okay, you know, I'm kind of struggling. Like, do I keep my own home office? Do I go back into the office? Do I stay in this place? Do I take a job in another city? There can be goals coming up where you're like, okay, a year from now, I want to move. So I'm saving money for a down payment for a home, or I am improving a home so it can be complete within that time. So that's something that you kind of want to think about during this particular new moon. Good luck, Gemini. All right, we got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's up, Cancer? You're going to be doing this new moon in Virgo in your natal 3rd house. For you, my Cancerians, first of all, lunar transits, they impact you because you're ruled by the moon. So pay attention to that. It's bringing your attention to the 3rd house, which is about learning, communication, you know, siblings. It could be about your neighborhood. It could be about your vehicles, gadgets, things like that. So this is definitely an excellent time if you want to start a new course, especially something practical like coding, or if you want to learn a new language. It's possible that communication can become more precise and you could start writing a blog or engaging in like a detailed discussion about health or efficiency. Getting a job in your local community, you know, launching a website, you know, buying a new car, anything like that could be something you're thinking about. Recently, Mercury, the ruler, has been in your 3rd and it retrograded into the 2nd. So it looks like you've been re-evaluating your finances in some way before you do any of these things. Maybe you're wanting to learn more about accounting or managing money. Maybe you're wanting to learn more about, you know, doing some research on a new vehicle or planning a trip or, you know, kind of taking a course. I think about how, you know, the sun and the moon coming together is referencing, you know, you taking stock in something because the sun rules your 2nd house. So it's really about how you think about money, how you're thinking about values, and what you're hoping to kind of initiate. A sextile to your sign is positive. It's basically just increasing your ability to kind of communicate. Mercury is now direct, but maybe you're waiting until Mercury comes out of the square with Uranus to like make any moves. And once again, you know, when Mercury comes into Virgo, we might see some activations of this new moon. So it might be a couple weeks down the road. Okay. The card that I get is the Page of Swords. I like this for the 3rd house. That's a great card. Witty, communicative. This is about being curious and alert, thirst for knowledge, chatty, restless, inspired, and messages. Okay. This can also be Libras, Aquariuses, or Geminis that can come into your life that are kind of like initiating, you know, new opportunities for you to communicate, learn something, share something. If you're wanting to start writing a book or a course, or if you're wanting to kind of teach something or put something out into the online world, that's a really good sign for that. All right. Good luck, Cancer. All right, we've got Leo and Leo rising. You're getting a new moon in Virgo in your 2nd house of resources, money, values, possessions. This is your money manifesting moon, my Leos. 2nd house is also about self-esteem. Okay, it's about your spending power. So having a new moon in this part of the chart is really about financial organization. That becomes key, taking stock in what you have, what you value, what you need more of. And it's about, I think, budgeting more meticulously. I think that's definitely going to be a theme. Knowing how much money you're spending, you know, getting lunch or Starbucks every day, knowing how much money you're spending in your monthly, you know, kind of habits, or, you know, sticking to a budget when it comes to grocery shopping. This is also potentially about decluttering your possessions or investing in something for some long-term value, like educational tools or your profession. Now, recently, Mercury has been in your second and it went into your first house. So that tells me that you're reevaluating what you value and you're kind of coming to terms with what is most important to you, right? Obviously, Mercury's been in your sign, so maybe there's been a sense of holding back and waiting to make a decision, and it's been in a square to Uranus, which means that there's been some friction between what it is that you think or what you have to say, or maybe your values versus that of a parent or that of a boss's. And there's been some tension maybe between communication and independence when it comes to, you versus who you are out in the world or in your career. So there's probably been a little bit of tension in communications, I would assume. Could mean that there's been negotiations for salaries that have been going on. But what I have to tell you is this. When we look at this in the second house, this is your money. The eighth house is other people's money. And Saturn is there. So it's making an opposition to Saturn. And the sun and the moon coming together in the second house represents your subconscious coming out to play, being like, yeah, but I'm worth more. I deserve more, or I can't, keep accepting less. And with the oppositions to Saturn, you may feel like you're not getting enough from people, right? It could be clients, it could be emotionally, spiritually, intimately, it could be partnerships, it could be, having a delay when it comes to an inheritance, or dealing with a partner that isn't working or wants to save, whatever the reason is. So you're really kind of focusing on being like, no, I know that I need more. And over the next few years, as you see eclipses going through your eighth house, and then you also see the North Node in your eighth house, you will receive more from other people, right? And it's not just people being generous with you, although maybe. It may mean that, you have loans that come through to help you grow a business. You might get a tax refund. You might hit the lottery. You might meet a wealthy spouse. You never know what's going to happen. But generally, the North Node in the eighth house is going to bring you more, and you're learning not to spread yourself too thin, and there's some support from another person. Anyway, your card is the High Priestess. I feel like that's Pisces in your eighth house. I feel like that's Saturn. That's like being like, yeah, when people tell you like, oh, I don't have the money, I would be like, well, I kind of feel like you do, or I kind of feel like we've had this conversation before, or I kind of feel like, you need to be meeting me halfway. The High Priestess is about waiting to receive. And so a lot of it can be the message in the reading that's just like, hey, you're going to have support. It's coming, but a lot of it stems from knowing your worth. So this is about intuition, mystery, sacred knowledge, divine feminine, inner knowing, subconscious, higher power, and your inner voice, okay? So very much about listening to your intuition. Good luck, Leo. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You've got a new moon in your sign. So if you have your birthday, like the 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, right around then, you're going to have like a new moon right around your birthday. So it's a fresh start for you. And this new moon is going to be in your first house of self. So this is body, appearance, your personal goals. This is very much about you, Virgo. It's not about other people, okay? And I know that sometimes with some of the oppositions, it can feel like it's about other people, and some of the squares, there's some pressure going on. But when you have a new moon in your first house, you want to think about, where do you want to be 6 months from now? Right? How do you want to look? Where do you want to be living? How do you want to feel? What personal goals do you want to complete for yourself? This is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury has been retrograde from your first house to your 12th. And I know some Virgo risings, hopefully not all of them, have been either feeling more kind of hermity, introspective. They've been taking a step back. They've needed time alone. Maybe you've been holding back and having a conversation, keeping a secret. Maybe you've been just a little bit more quiet and reflective. But Mercury went from your sign into your 12th house, where you were being asked to reflect on the things you weren't saying, or spend some time in solitude and kind of connect to your subconscious and figure out, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What is going to be best for me? So a little confusing, obviously, with that transit, and it's been in some tension with Uranus. Some of you guys have been reflecting on education or travel. That's possible too. But this new moon is in opposition to Saturn, all right? So that means that the intentions that you're setting for yourself, which you've probably been thinking about, happens to be more about you and less about other people. And it may mean that what's best for you or what intentions you're setting requires you to have better boundaries with others. Now, Saturn in the 7th could be your clients. It could mean that, you're slowing down a little bit in taking work, or maybe you're deciding, you know what, I need some space for my therapist, or my partner's driving me crazy. Maybe this isn't the right relationship for me. Maybe I need space from them. Saturn rules your 5th house of children, lovers, and creative projects. So it can mean that you're telling some clients, I don't have time, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I have other things that I'm kind of working on. Or, maybe you're finding it hard to communicate and connect with a romantic partner. Maybe you're kind of feeling like things are kind of fizzling out, or due to heavy responsibilities involving children, there is this feeling of having some distance, maybe from a partner or a spouse. So with that being said, focus more on you. I think Saturn in the 11th house, in the 7th house is like other people having to be more mature. And sometimes with Saturn retrograde in Pisces, you see other people that are like, I don't know why this is happening to me, and like people not taking responsibility. So rather than putting all the energy into other people, you're going to want to pull it back into yourself. And you're going to see more growth and development that's going to manifest as a result of kind of prioritizing and putting yourself first, essentially, right? Watch for when Mercury comes back into Virgo, when it starts kind of crossing those degrees the next couple of weeks. You're probably going to see more of this. So if you're still kind of in like doubt or wait and see or denial mode, watch what happens when Mercury goes back into Virgo, because you may start to see right around the eclipse next month. That's when you're like, yeah, no, maybe this isn't working for me. We'll see. Card that you get, Virgo, is the Star card. Yay, healing, wish fulfillment, bringing the energy back to yourself, filling your own cup. So hope, renewal, and this is also about miracles, faith, rejuvenation, finding your North Star, purpose, spirituality, healing, positivity, and inner clarity. Wow, the tarot's like super, it's on today. It's not being sassy. That's good. I like that. Happy new moon, Virgo. Let me know how it goes. All right, we got Libra and Libra rising. You're going to be experiencing a new moon in the sign of Virgo in your natal 12th house, my Libras. So this is happening in the house of the subconscious, solitude, hidden things, behind the scenes, the bedroom, your dream space, your meditation den, right? It could also be in like a healing space as well. That's possible. Like if you're going to like a spa or a retreat of some kind. So when you have a new moon here, this is basically about a need for deep introspection, all right? And this is about healing practices like meditation. It could be yoga, it could be breath work. It could be about starting a new journal to explore your subconscious thoughts and focusing on what needs to be healed and released through, some form of personal growth. I will tell you, Libra, that like Taurus, because you're ruled by Venus, the Venus South Node conjunction is definitely touching on the fact that there can be some health changes going on right now. And it can mean that there are good things being released. It doesn't have to be negative, but health changes are a big thing you want to watch for. South Node Venus can mean that you're like letting something go. And that could be emotional baggage. It could be physical weight. It could be old, outdated views or perspectives of yourself, or how you feel like you have to look or behave. And maybe the 12th house is about getting introspection on, well, why am I doing this? And, I can make the physical changes, but I need to make the emotional changes as well, or the spiritual changes as well, to be able to kind of better deal with that. Now, Mercury is the ruler. It's been retrograde from your 12th into your 11th, which tells me that there's been a sense of reconnecting to groups and socializing and other people. It's been a square to Uranus, so maybe there's been some tension or some things coming up for you in terms of conflict with certain groups of individuals, or people who may you may be friends with, or if you have like a business where you have an audience, something like that can be coming up. And the South Node Venus means that it can be impacting the way that you view yourself, through some of the tension you've had with other people, and you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? So you could be kind of going through a process of, reevaluating what you want to hold on to and what you want to let go of. Watch your health, right? Because you do have these oppositions to Saturn in your 6th house of health, habits, and routine. You've got an eclipse that's going to be happening in mid-September in your 6th house. You've got an eclipse that's going to be on your ascendant in October. Libra risings, watch your health. You're going to start noticing that there's either some weird immune system stuff going on, stuff with your feet. There can be issues with, time and productivity. And the irony is that Saturn in your 6th house wants you to make time for peace, creativity, sleep, rest, those kinds of things, and time management. But a new moon in the 12th house is saying now it's your job to make sure that you're doing the emotional kind of spiritual balance in the midst of all of this. Okay? All right, Libra, let's see what card you get. You get the 6 of Cups. I like that. So 6 of Cups can be about, it's like nostalgia, like reflecting on things in the past. It can also be about your childhood, memories, things that are familiar, gifts, innocence, feeling more sentimental, focusing on comfort and healing. So with Venus on your ascendant, there can be a sense of really focusing on your health and beauty, and maybe the 12th house is like, okay, I do need a spa day. That would be perfect for this particular transit, by the way. Or I do need to go on retreat and, be in the middle of the forest for a day or two. Like, these are things that you can do. And obviously connecting with the element of earth. But I also feel like this is about how can I simplify my life? Saturn in the 6th house. How can I simplify my life? And a lot of that's going to kind of shift revolving around, major changes in how you think and, what you're willing to dedicate time and energy to. Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You'll be experiencing a new moon in Virgo in your natal 11th house of friends, allies, networks, and other people. This is also about hopes and dreams and wishes. So this is definitely a moon that you want to be setting some wishes, Scorpio. It's obviously friendly with your sign. It sextiles your sign. So when you have a new moon in the 11th house, this is a wonderful time to join or start a group. And it can be a physical group. It can be meeting with your team, teams at work, Virgo. It can be about a new health-focused group, or maybe you're going to a group fitness class. Maybe you're focusing on some kind of community service or joining some kind of professional networking kind of group or union even. That can happen in the 11th house. There's just a focus on your goals and friends and the kind of people that you want to spend time with, right? So you've recently had Mercury in this house. Maybe you heard from friends in the past, or maybe you had a friend come back around and say, hey, we're hiring. Do you want to come in and apply at my company? Maybe you've collaborated with another person or a team of some kind to be able to help kind of jumpstart and grow or make changes in your career, because Mercury has retrograded back into your 10th house of career and reputation. So some of you guys have started new jobs. Some of you guys have gone back. Some of you guys are still looking. This is still a new moon that's good if you're looking for work. And if you are looking for work, I would really recommend networking, because the 11th house is going to be networking with people and connecting and collaborating with others. I also feel like this is a really good time for just, taking stock in like who your friends are and who's got your back or who's there, in your time of need. Because Virgo in the 11th house means you can have some very, very helpful friends if you are in need in any situation. And if you've been wanting to start a group or kind of create a group online or in person, definitely consider doing it. Wonderful time to do group classes, especially involving healing and wellness. That can be really wonderful. Or people who are going to be helping you kind of promote your business or promote you in some way. And it's so wonderful for team building exercises. Now, the new moon does oppose Saturn, so there is this sense of being like, feeling limited maybe, and being like, okay, well, it's not just about me. It's about another person, or it's about bringing, something that I'm creating and working with a group of other people. So there is this feeling of, well, I'm not totally getting the spotlight, but I am getting a boost, and I am feeling like I have community and I have connection, and like it may be worth it. Who knows? It can also mean that in this most recent retrograde, you realized, hey, I'm actually breaking away from wanting to kind of do the group thing. I want the limelight, Mercury in the 10th house. I want to be seen and I want more visibility. It's setting you up and maybe in preparation for the fact that the North Node is going to be coming into your 5th house pretty soon, and you have eclipses in your 5th house, which will be next month in mid-September, which could be about, I want to create my own thing. And maybe that means that there is some change in kind of breaking away from a certain kind of group or platform. That is very possible. Okay. All right. So let's see what you got. And that's really strong, especially online, Scorpio. Pluto retrograde back into your third, that's your ruling planet. That means there is some critical thing that you need to do. You have a social media account you need to be running. You have a website you need to be putting out. You have a book that you need to be writing or teaching. There's something going on there that you're kind of working out right now. All right. Card that you get is the Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles. Slow and steady wins the race with this one. Look for help that may come from Tauruses, Capricorns, or Virgos, right? Pretty cool that this is also Virgo new moon. This is about being practical, reliable, stoic, slow and steady, hardworking, committed, grounded, patient, efficient, conservative, and pragmatic. I think this is how you're approaching your goals right now, Scorpio. That's what I think. And I think that it is possible to have the best of both worlds. It is possible to have a new moon in the 11th and say, I've got network and community, and then say, but I've also got my own thing. And, you know, if you're feeling like you're afraid to kind of get lost by getting jumbled with a bunch of other people, Saturn in the 5th house is going to keep you grounded and making sure that you stand out in some way, shape, or form. Watch for opportunities to socialize, connect with other people, go to parties, things like that. And if you're kind of feeling like there's been some rockiness in your love life lately, or you're single, this is encouraging you to go and be where the people are. If you can go and do that, then you're going to have some sense of like companionship, and you may actually you may meet someone. Good luck. We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? Every time I see your transits, like I always tell you, I'm rooting for you. I don't pick favorites, but it's been real. So we've got a new moon coming up in your 10th house, which is about your career and your reputation. So those of you guys who are Sagittarius risings, if you're like, I've been wanting to launch a business, I have been wanting to find a new job, I want to give a big presentation, I want to have a dramatic change in my status, or I want to, you know, have more success in my career. This is the new moon for that. I feel like a new moon here because it can be about responsibilities too. So I know that not everybody works. Sometimes we have people who are retired or stay-at-home moms or whatever. This is about your responsibility to, you know, like people out in the world. So it's how you're known. It can be, are you single? Are you retired? Are you married? You know, do you own your own business? Like that kind of stuff. So it can be about big changes to your status that can be coming with this particular new moon as well. All right, so for you, Sag, career ambitions might turn towards a more service-oriented role or improving your professional skills. You might be more focused on being organized, maybe hiring people to help you, especially with advertising or anything that can promote your business. Maybe because Mercury was retrograde in your 10th house and it went to the 9th, you're taking a break from work and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna travel, I'm gonna come back to work with a clearer frame of mind. Or I'm gonna be going back to school because I'm changing my career, you know, and then this is, okay, now I have a better idea of what do I wanna be doing in the future now that I have made a decision about my education. Obviously Mercury rules your 10th house, but it also rules your 7th. So maybe there's been a sense of being like, I'm just changing the way that I work and I'm being more vocal with my partner, my business partners, my clients, you know, my coworkers about what I can and cannot do. And maybe there's been some friction in recent weeks with some of the squares to Jupiter and Mars, but maybe there's been support too. Some of you guys might have launched new businesses, you have more clients, there's more demand. Maybe it means that you have help in some capacity with this. I think the challenge is that, you know, Sagittarius is the one sign that's missing. So you're experiencing Sag, a grand mutable cross right now. So everything is changing, and now you get to change the way that you are seen out in the world. And if you're committed to making some of these major changes in your career and your reputation, it is possible for you to see this through. But keep in mind, the oppositions to Saturn are saying that you know, there can be some heavy things going on at home, expenses revolving around home or family, or maybe, you know, changes with your work and your status, or somehow being impacted by your family or your living situation in some way. Things are going to die down a little bit. You're not going to see so much craziness the second half, I think, of September after the eclipses. But pay attention to the next full moon lunar eclipse in your 4th, because it's going to be more home related. And like I said, in 6 months' time, You're going to have a South Node eclipse in the 10th, which means you are going to have a status change. You are going to have a job change. You are going to be maybe more focused on being self-employed, having a creative business, being a parent. These are the kind of things that might be kind of coming up for you later in this next year. Obviously, the new moon squares Jupiter, which is your chart ruler, which means some of these significant changes are requiring you to partner with people, talk to your romantic partners, your business partners, your clients more. Ask them for their opinions, let them support you. Maybe you're working with an astrologer or a therapist, somebody who can kind of help you navigate and kind of balance this home work stuff that you've got going on, okay? All right, let's see. Card that I get is the 10 of Wands. Not surprised. With the new moon in the 10th house, I'm not surprised. I feel like this is about, you're feeling like, okay, I got a lot on my plate right now. The 10 of Wands is about completing a situation where you feel like you've been carrying a bunch of burdens. So yes, there can be extra responsibility. There's lots of effort going into something new that you're trying to do. You may be feeling exhausted or overwhelmed. And you may feel like there's a lot of obligation going on and you're feeling a little burnt out. But this is the end of the Wands. This is about completing that. So right as you're getting to the end, not giving up, being like, no, I'm determined to see this through. And even though you're feeling like you're getting pulled in different directions, this may be that final push before you're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna actually stick to it. I'm gonna make this happen. So don't get overwhelmed. Take your time and look for the support from other people to kind of help you navigate through that. And look, I think a lot of Sagittarius is right now with the retrograde from the 10th to the 9th, either taking a break from work and coming back or deciding that you're going to pursue a new educational path to help shift where you're going with work. It could be really positive, all right? Good luck, Sag. All right, so we've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are doing the new moon in Virgo in your natal 9th house, fellow sister earth sign. So it's trining your sun, moon, or rising, especially if it's within that 11, 12 degrees, 10, 11, 12. So this is going to be in your 9th house, okay? And the 9th house is legal stuff, travel. It can be philosophy. It can be working with teachers or mentors. It can also be about higher education, all of these things. So when I think about a new moon here, this is a time where maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to plan a trip. And the trip is going to revolve around health or fitness. Or maybe you need to organize and kind of get all your flights and all of your itinerary in order, right? That could be something that you're doing here. You may also be studying a new philosophical or spiritual practice, and it can emphasize personal growth or spiritual growth. Working with a new teacher or mentor can kind of come up here, planning to, go and take courses or apply to college or go to school and kind of get your courses in order, make sure you're registered. That can happen. Recently, Mercury has been in the 9th house and it's been retrograde into the 8th. So for some of you guys, you're dealing with an estate matter that's overseas, or you're hiring an immigration lawyer and it's taken time to deal with that. Or maybe you've been having some delays with traveling because of pets or because of health stuff. Maybe you've had to hire people to kind of help you manage some of these before mentioned things because of Mercury's connection to your 6th. I feel like now, there is something that's going to flow a little bit more now that you have the new moon, and when when Mercury comes in, it's going to get a little bit easier. And while the trines to your ascendant are lovely and it helps you feel on top of the ball and in control, what's frustrating is that the new moon opposes Saturn, which is your chart ruler. And there's a lot of going okay, I have to shift something about my beliefs and, not be so critical of myself, or not assume the worst, or not speak negatively about situations, or not hold myself back, right? It's about having some kind of faith and being able to uplift the heaviness of Saturn in the 3rd house of the mind, right? And so some of the challenges can be with neighbors. It can be over cars. It can be over, like I said, immigration. It can be with siblings. But there is a sense here of having a shift that's coming where you're like, no, I'm going to take the high road, or I'm going to be optimistic about this. And it's definitely a lot revolving around either traveling or learning in some way. Okay? So it's outside of you, very much so, because you're Saturn. The card that I get is the King of Wands. Great card. Watch for an Aries, a Leo, or a Sag. Can be a man that comes in.
This can be somebody who is somebody else or you kind of channeling these traits. So it can be more, kind of like, acting as a natural leader, having a vision for yourself, being more bold and daring, charming. This can be about entrepreneurship, power, the bigger picture, optimism, and taking control. And that's going to be challenging because it's in opposition to your sun, to your ruling planet, Saturn. But what you want to lean into is the trine to your ascendant. Like, nope, I've got this. I'm the goat, climbing the hill. I will overcome this. And I'm waiting maybe to hear what somebody else is going to tell me or what advice they're going to give me before I proceed forward. So that way you're not feeling like you're kind of getting lost in the oppositions to Saturn. Okay? Good luck, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys are going to be doing a new moon in Virgo in your natal 8th house. All right, spooky. So the 8th house is obviously about other people's money. It could be banking, loans, taxes, inheritances, support of some kind, transformation, healing, psychological transformation, intimacy, hidden things, secret things. So this is a more private place for you. And this is where generally the sun does not shine. So it can represent there are things that we were not totally aware of maybe until this retrograde when it comes to psychological triggers and traumas, things we need to heal, health-related matters, joint financial related matters. And also there could be some complex things going on between you and people that you're working with because it's Virgo in the 8th house. Now this is ruled by Mercury, which is now in your 7th. And Mercury has started its retrograde in Virgo and it went back into Leo. So I'm wondering, are there some Aquarius or Aquarius risings that are going back and forth in a relationship? And, the psychological effects that that's having on you. Do I take them back? Do I not? Do I feel vulnerable? Can we make it work? Can it represent possibly, a change in direction in how you're communicating with relationships and partnerships with it being in your 7th house? Now, this can be romantic partners, clients, children. Obviously, Leo is kids, but 7th is people we have relationships with. And I feel like this is really speaking to you personally because Saturn is your chart ruler. So with the sun and the moon in opposition to Saturn, there can be a lot of back and forth that you're having either with a child or with a partner about money, right? Insurance matters, getting something paid, especially something health related, because Saturn represents your body and it's in your 2nd house of money and resources. Virgo is health. And with the sun, which represents like support in opposition to Saturn, you guys are going back and forth about what we spend money on and what we don't and what we're doing and how we kind of make more of it or where we're investing it. And so maybe there has been some delays or some setbacks here. Maybe there has been some renegotiations going on in regards to relationships and partnerships. And you're intending when this eclipse comes in next month to have some really big kind of financial news come in, I assume. The one challenge is that not only is the sun in opposition to Saturn, your traditional ruler, but Mercury's in a square to Uranus, your modern day ruler. So some of this reworking of communication or going back and forth with a relationship has also brought some kind of stress on the family unit, in your home life. Maybe the change in direction or the shift going on with your partner has kind of made you feel a little emotionally unsure, or maybe it's caused some turbulence like at home. So my advice is with Saturn in your 2nd house and the new moon in the 8th, it's about giving other people the opportunity to meet you halfway. Not offering to, pay their way, or not offering, up your emotions immediately or quickly, or not offering to jump in and fix something. No, 8th house is change. Other people have to be willing to make that change, and they have to change something about the way they're connecting with you or dealing with you in some capacity. Saturn in the opposition is saying, nope, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna just hold tight and see what other people do with this, and I'm not going to try to influence or control the situation. Yes, there's probably been a lot of things that have gone on financially, but I do think that once you have this new moon, it's giving you the opportunity to go, okay, if I stay strong and if I don't break, I'm going to gain some kind of clarity. Remember, taking off the veil. How much money do they have? Why aren't they paying their way? Or, what options do I have when it comes to loans or, some kind of financial support? Something may likely come through. So just watch for that. This happens to be a little bit more financial for you guys, and it's ushering you into what will eventually be the North and South Node. in your second and eighth house at the beginning of the year. So you're already accustomed to some of the Saturn stuff with Saturn and Pisces in your second. And now you're going through a situation where you're going to realize not everybody has what they claim they have. So if somebody's saying, yeah, I'm going to pay half of it, or yes, we're going to qualify you for the loan, or, you know, I'm going to give you, you know, what you're owed. You're working hard for the money right now. And as the North Node comes through your second house, you're going to keep doing that. And other people may not have as much to contribute, but you keep on keeping on regardless either way. Okay. All right. So for you, oh, good news. This is a great card. 10 of coins. Like I said, you're working hard for the money. This is the card that you want to pull when you have an 8th house new moon. This is the card that you want. Because the 8th house can be investments, right? And it can represent where other people are investing in you, or where you're taking money on your savings or putting it into, you know, an investment of some kind, or into a, you know, a savings account or something. So this is about dynasty, long-term legacy, inheritance, wealth. This is about financial security, long-term success, roots, family, and also privilege. This is the wealth card, right? And so like I said, you got an eclipse coming here that's going to be in mid-September. I think it's going to be the big one. I think when we have the full moon eclipse in your 8th house, yes, there may be, you know, somebody who goes through some sort of loss, right? The South Node in the 8th house is somebody loses something, but the North Node is in your second, so you gain. Maybe you make an investment that other people think is crazy and it goes the other way, and then you make money, right? Or, you know, somebody says, all right, well, you know, it was my fault with the accident. I'm gonna pay for your repairs, you know, their loss, your gain, that kind of stuff. Anyway, great money card. Great for finances, Aquarius, so let me know how it goes. All right, we got Pisces and Pisces rising. My Pisces, this is your new moon in Virgo, located in your 7th house of relationships. So those of you guys who are single, those of you guys who are partnered, it does not matter. The new moon in the 7th house is really talking about the people who you are closest to. So partnerships, marriage, business relationships maybe that you have with people at work as well. So new moons here is when we focus on these things, or there's new opportunities that are kind of arising when it comes to relationships with others. You may set intentions for how you want your relationships to function more efficiently or healthily. This can involve discussing or sharing goals with your partner, particularly around health or work-life balance. You want to get back on the horse and start dating people? Great. If you're in a relationship and you need a restart, great. I feel like a lot of the changes that are going to come from relationships with you are actually going to start with you. And I could see for some Pisces risings, you know, being like, okay, I want to get back into dating, but I'm very picky because of the opposition to Saturn. Like, I'm not just going to commit to anybody, or it's got to be somebody who's got to have, you know, they got to meet all the criteria, because Saturn in the 1st house is saying high standards, low expectations. I think a new moon here with a square to Jupiter, which is your chart ruler, means that the changes that are coming in relationships are going to help you expand emotionally and also out of your current home or living situation or environment. It can also be helping you get out of the past. So if you've been stuck in a bad relationship, not letting somebody go, this can incentivize you to travel, experience other places, come back and be like, I'm ready to try again. You might notice if you're in a relationship, your partner's more health focused, or there's changes going on with their health or their habits or their jobs even that could be happening with Virgo. And this is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury actually started its retrograde in Virgo in your relationship sector, and it went into the 6th. And this is why I say either your partners are changing their health or they're healing something in some way, or it's been about your relationship with your coworkers that you've been working out. Yeah, I can see there's been a lot of like airing your grievances and issues in relationships, and maybe you're feeling like you're kind of at your wit's end with certain people because we air that out in the 6th house. But I'm really looking at all the oppositions to Saturn. And that really tells me that you're like, there are certain things that don't work for me, or I need space, or people can be coming and saying, well, now I've got it together, or I've fixed it. And you can be like, I'm not interested, or I'm not good enough. You may not see that yet. You may see that more when the eclipses start coming in later in September in your 1st house, and it triggers a situation where you're like, I realize that I don't want to live with this person anymore, or I finally have to let this go. You know, I got to make room for somebody new. So it's definitely a lot of dealing with other people And I really feel like oppositions, you know, even though they're two separate houses, they're showing you the same thing. Look at it as a conjunction. So if we were to look at this as the sun, the moon, and Saturn conjunct, it would be, where do you feel stuck and limited in some of these relationships? Can you truly be yourself in this relationship? Are you looking for somebody who is authentic? Would you rather be alone? Do you need a break? You know, or are you kind of like, I don't want to be around people. I want my space. Some of you guys are like, I got so much brewing with my family, or I've got so much brewing with, you know, my living situation that like, that's the least of my concerns right now. And it's possible that, you know, the full moon next year actually brings somebody in, and it stems from you going, well, I need something better, or I'm not ready yet, or I'm healing, or, you know, I'm not in that place yet, but I will be, or, you know, turning away a relationship right now that you know isn't a match for you, right? Any of these things can kind of resonate, especially with the South Node conjunct Venus in the 8th house. It's very possible. I do think that it feels like some relationships, even with relatives, can be changing in some capacity, because Mercury is connected to Jupiter, your ruler, and Mars at the bottom of your chart. I'm wondering, is there some sense of going back and forth with certain relatives, and it could be siblings that you're trying to air some stuff out with as well. So you're one of the signs that's also getting kind of pulled in every which way direction. And Jupiter being the focal point is, well, you may have to move, change home, you know, go be with family, do something. If you do need a break from a partnership, you might be like, I'm visiting my mom for the weekend. You know, something like that can happen. But yeah, good news for, I think, relationships down the road. Some of you guys may have some karmic relationship stuff going on next year, when you have a South Node eclipse there, and you're going to have also, you know, with this new moon, Venus conjunct the South Node. So it can talk about karmic soulmate type of things happening and people kind of coming through. Card that I get for you is the Seven of Cups. Not surprised. Not surprised with Saturn and Neptune in your first house. There's this sense of like, what do I want? I don't know, you know, and Virgo in the 7th house can be people who are very detail oriented and they're very clear, and you're like, dude, just let me think about it, or let me kind of vibe on this for a little bit, or like, it just doesn't feel like it's the right time. So this is about choices, clouded judgment, too many options, illusions, opportunities, wishful thinking, searching for purpose, indecision, and disarray. That's more you, not them. All right. So you may not know what you want. You may have somebody who wants to work with you, partner with you, somebody who wants to take you out to dinner, and you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this person. And you're still filling things out. So the Seven of Cups is about not feeling like you have to make a decision. And I think that's the way to go. You know, you want to make a decision, you want to make a decision a little bit down the road. Start doing that when you're seeing the eclipses that are going to be kind of coming through, probably closer to spring of next year. You'll gain more clarity. But know that with Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node's coming into your first house. It's about, what is your vision, right? What are you choosing to do with your life? What's going to feel best for you? Certainly the right person can kind of fit into that. That's very possible. But next spring, when we have these eclipses and Mercury and Venus go retrograde in your sign, the right person will literally fall into your lap if you're looking for it. They will just show up because it's going to be happening in your first house. Somebody will just come to you. But right now, it's about self-preservation 101. All right? So I hope that's helpful for you guys and giving you some insight on this up-and-coming new moon in Virgo. Make the best of it. Really set those intentions. Focus on health and organization, kind of getting things in order, cleaning stuff up as we're preparing for the second half of 2024. The year is going by so fast. I will be back pretty soon. I'm actually in the process of working on 2 separate projects right now. So one's going to be the eclipses. I'm doing a webinar for that, so stay tuned. I'll send out a newsletter for when that's available on the eclipses in September and October. I'm also working on another project that I'm trying to get done for the end of the month that I want to put on the channel as well for you guys. So I got stuff cooking, don't worry. If you want to see more about me and what I do, my work, check out my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. You guys can see my services there. I have sessions available. I'm booking right now in October and November 2024. We do gift certificates for the holidays. I teach astrology. I sell astrology calendars and all kinds of cool candles and other stuff. So you guys can support my work just simply by signing up for my newsletter, or you can give me a thumbs up, share this video, leave me a comment below, and let me know what new habits and routines are you trying to set in this next month for this new moon in Virgo. I'm wishing you guys the best week ahead. I'll catch you back here on Thursday, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your week. Take care.